What's like to be every level of the spy in World War II Level 1, the recruitment. The letter arrives on a Tuesday. It looks like nothing. Government stationery, a formal address, a time and place. No explanation, no context. Just a room number in a building in London that doesn't appear on any public directory, and a name at the bottom that you don't recognize but somehow know not to question. You go. You've been working as a translator at a shipping company in Bristol. French, German, a little Italian. You inherited the languages from a childhood split between your mother's family in Lyon and your father's posting in Munich. You never thought of them as anything other than accidents of biography. Apparently, someone else thought of them differently. The room is small. Two men in civilian clothes sit across a wooden table. They don't introduce themselves by name. They ask you questions for 2 hours, not about your loyalty, not about your politics, but about your memory, your adaptability, how you perform under social pressure, whether you've ever lied convincingly to someone who mattered. You answer honestly. They offer you nothing specific. They tell you only that there is work that needs doing, that it is dangerous, that the danger cannot be fully explained to you until you've agreed to it, and that if you agree, your previous life will need to cease to exist in any traceable form. You think about this for approximately 4 seconds. You say yes. You don't fully know why. Later you'll construct reasons, patriotism, the way to what's happening across the channel, the sense that languages and memory and the ability to be whoever the room requires have been building towards something your ordinary life couldn't use. All of this is true. None of it is the whole reason. The whole reason is simpler and hard to say. The room felt like the place you were supposed to be, and you have never, before or since, been so certain of anything so quickly. They tell you to go home. Pack nothing unusual. Tell no one. Report to an address in Scotland in 4 days. You do all of this. The person who boards at Train North is the last version of yourself you will be for a very long time. Level 2, the training. The house in Scotland is large, isolated, and runs on a schedule that begins at 5 in the morning and ends when instructors decide it ends. There are 11 others. You don't learn their real names. You don't offer yours. The cover names are assigned on the first day and used without exception from that point forward. Within a week, the cover name begins to feel more natural than the real one, which is either a sign you're adapting correctly or a sign of something else you don't examine too closely. The training is not what you expected. You expected weapons, codes, radio equipment. Those come, but they come third. What comes first is identity. You spend the first 3 weeks learning how to be someone else. Not performing being someone else. Actually constructing a complete human being from the architecture out. Childhood memories that didn't happen. A family you didn't have. Habits and opinions. And small biographical details that need to be consistent under any questioning at any hour from any angle. Your cover is a Swiss businessman with interests in textile import. His name is Henri Marchand. He grew up in Geneva. His father was an accountant. His mother died when he was 9. He prefers red wine to white. He is mildly afraid of dogs. He has a slight limp from a skiing accident in 1938. You practice limping until you forget you're limping. The second phase is technical. Morse code until your fingers tap patterns in your sleep. Cipher systems. Dead drops. How to sweep a room for surveillance. How to communicate in a crowd without appearing to communicate. How to follow someone without being seen and how to identify when you're being followed. The specific art of casual counter-surveillance. Walking a route that creates no pattern using shop windows and tram reflections and the geometry of streets to see what's behind you without turning your head. The third phase is harder to name. It's the phase where they try to break Henri Marchand. Interrogations at 3 a.m., conducted by instructors you've never seen before in German, lasting hours, with no warning and no end time established at the outset. Cold rooms, stress positions, questions that loop back on themselves to catch inconsistencies you didn't know you created. Henri Marchand holds. You learn something about yourself during these sessions. The deeper you go into the cover, the more protected you feel. Henri Marchand can endure things you're not sure you could. He has already survived his mother's death and a skiing accident and a difficult relationship with his father. He is a man of private resilience. You borrow his. At the end of 12 weeks, one of the nameless men from the London room appears at the house. He tells you that 6 of the 11 have been washed out. He tells you that you're going to France. He tells you to be careful with the word trust, that in the field, it is a liability masquerading as a resource. You file this away. You will need it very soon. Level 3, the field. Occupied France smells different than you expected. You can't articulate it first. It takes a week before you locate the word, and the word is careful. Everything smells careful. The way people move, speak, occupy a cafe or a queue or a train compartment. The constant low-grade performance of normalcy over a substrate of fear that has been running so long it has almost become normalcy itself. You move through it as Henri Marchand. And Henri Marchand is unremarkable, which is the highest professional compliment available in this work. Your first assignment is simple by design. Message delivery. A piece of microfilm embedded in the heel of a shoe, carried from a contact in line to a dead drop in Marseille. The contact is a woman who runs a haberdashery shop. She hands you a package of buttons. The microfilm is inside a button. You don't open the package. You carry on the train, talk to no one, read a newspaper, and leave the package in a hollow of a specific wall behind a cafe on the Rue de la Paix. Nothing goes wrong. This is its own kind of test. The operations that go smoothly reveal almost nothing about your real capabilities. What reveals your capabilities is what you do with the fear, whether it sharpens you or occupies you. On the train from Lyon to Marseille, you experience both in alternating waves. A German officer boards at Valence and moves through the compartment checking papers. Your papers are good. Henri Marchand's papers are exceptional, produced by people who have been making them for years. You hand them over. The officer examines them, returns them, moves on. Your hands are steady throughout. Afterward, in the bathroom of the Marseille station, they shake for approximately 40 seconds. You let them shake. You've been told this is acceptable, even optimal. The shaking is the excess leaving the system. The hands that are steady in the moment and shake afterward are the hands you want. The hands that never shake belong to people who have stopped feeling the danger, and people who have stopped feeling the danger make mistakes born of comfort. Your handler makes contact 3 days later in the manner arranged. He is a Frenchman, resistance, 40s, a face that has learned to mean nothing in public. He tells you the microfilm was received and was useful. He tells you the next assignment is more complex. He tells you nothing else. You are in the field now. This is what it feels like. It feels like every ordinary moment carrying a hidden weight, like the entire visible world being a surface beneath which the real world runs, like being the only person in every room who knows what the room is actually for. You learn to find this clarifying rather than exhausting. It takes a while. Level 4, the operator. 8 months in, and you have run 17 operations. Not all of them simple. Not all of them clean. You have passed intelligence that contributed to the disruption of 2 German supply lines. You have helped move 3 Allied airmen from a farmhouse in Normandy to a fishing boat in Brittany. 3 days, 2 safe houses, 1 checkpoint. You talked your way through with a story about a sick Anakin that you constructed on the spot and delivered without a single tell. You have attended a dinner party at which a Gestapo officer was present and spent 4 hours being Henri Marchand with complete fidelity while the officer discussed, over lamb and wine, the methods his unit was using to identify resistance networks in the South. You memorized everything he said. You reported it verbatim to London. The following morning on the radio set, hidden beneath the floorboards of the room, you ran above a printer's shop. At level 4, you have developed something that wasn't in the training, operational instinct, the ability to read a situation in real time, to feel when something is wrong before you can name what's wrong, to adjust before the need to adjust becomes visible. You've learned to trust the instinct without interrogating it. If something feels like surveillance, you treat it as surveillance immediately, without stopping to calculate probabilities. The cost of treating a coincidence as a threat is minor. The cost of treating a threat as a coincidence is absolute. You've also learned the specific arithmetic of risk. Every operation has a risk profile. Every risk profile has a threshold. Above the threshold, abort. The instruction sounds simple. In practice, it requires overriding the sunk cost, the relationship with the contact you spent months cultivating, the importance of the intelligence, the particular feeling that this time the risk is acceptable because you've managed worse. None of these override the threshold. The threshold is the threshold. Absolute. You've aborted twice. Both times the instinct was correct. You didn't always find out how correct until weeks later, sometimes longer. But both times correct. The discipline of the abort is the hardest thing you've learned. Harder than the interrogation training. Harder than the dead drops in the rain. The abort requires accepting that the best decision sometimes produces nothing visible and causes something real. It requires operating without the feedback of outcome. You've gotten good at it. You've also gotten good at something darker. Compartmentalization. You know things about people in your network, their real names, their faces, their safe houses. That could get them killed. They know equivalent things about you. The only protection is to hold this knowledge in a separate place inside yourself, sealed off, inaccessible to everything else. To never let it surface in the wrong context. To never hold it loosely. You've built a very good filing system. It has very high walls. Level 5, the cost. The arrest comes on a Wednesday afternoon. Not yours. Jacques, your primary courier, a 23-year-old schoolteacher from Orleans who has been carrying messages between your cell and the resistance network in Paris for 5 months. You find out through the signal system. A flower pot moved from a windowsill on the route to archives, and you spend approximately 90 seconds verifying the signal before beginning the protocol. The protocol is specific. Assume Jacques has your description. Assume he has a location of 2 of your 3 current safe houses. He's been to both. Assume the Gestapo will move within hours. Go to the one location Jacques has never been. Destroy the radio. Burn the current cipher sheets. Go dark. You do all of this. You spend 11 days in a room above a tannery on the outskirts of Limoges, communicating nothing, receiving nothing, waiting for the network to determine whether it's been compromised enough to warrant your extraction. During those 11 days, you think about Jacques, not operationally. You've completed the operational thinking. You think about him as a person, his laugh, which was too loud for work, which everyone told him and which he never quite managed to suppress. His habit of arriving at meetings with a pastry he'd split with you, the way he talked about his students, with an anger at the interruption of their education that was less about the children and more about everything the occupation had interrupted or destroyed. You think about whether he's alive. You think about what they do to people like Jacques when they want what Jacques knows. You don't let yourself complete these thoughts. Completing them serves nothing operational and costs something you can't afford to spend. But the not completing has its own cost. The thoughts don't disappear. They just go somewhere less accessible, which is not the same as gone. This is the level where you understand something the training mentioned, but couldn't teach. The weight doesn't distribute across the network. It accumulates in the people. In you. In Henri Marchand, who was supposed to be a Swiss textile businessman and has instead become a container for everything you can allow yourself to feel in real time. Henri Marchand is getting very full. The network clears you after 11 days. Jacques held, or told them nothing they could use. You're never told which. You're moved to a new safe house, given a new courier, issued new cipher sheets. You continue. You don't have the option to not continue. Level 6, the architecture. By year 2, you are no longer running operations. You are designing them. London has recognized what you've built. The network of contacts, the operational discipline, the instinct for risk calibration, and has given you a different function. You now run 3 subagents. You set their assignments, manage their safety protocols, create their cover identities, and absorb the intelligence they produce into reports that go up the chain in encrypted form and returns orders in a different encrypted form. You are middle layer. You are infrastructure. This is more dangerous than running your own operations. When you run your own operation, you control only your own exposure. When you run 3 agents, you control your exposure and theirs. And theirs and yours are connected in ways that can't be fully severed. If one is arrested, the geometry changes for all. You spend significant mental energy on isolation, ensuring that no agent knows more about the others than their function requires, that the connections visible to any one of them are minimal, that the overall architecture of the network would survive the compromise of any single node. You also spend significant mental energy on the people. Subagents are not assets. You've heard them called assets by people in London who have never been in a cafe in Lyon, trying to read whether the man at the next table is Gestapo or just a man drinking coffee. Assets is a category that enables a kind of thinking you found operationally dangerous. The thinking that places the intelligence above the intelligent source. You've seen where that thinking goes. You won't go there. Your three agents are a bookseller, a nurse, and a railway worker. You know their real names. You know their families. You carry this knowledge like the cipher sheets, with complete discretion, with no loose moments, with the understanding that what you know about them is also what you're responsible for. One night, the bookseller passes intelligence that proves, 3 weeks later, to have been instrumental in the disruption of a German ammunition resupply operation. You receive a commendation from London in the form of a coded message, so dry in its language, it might be describing a minor administrative achievement. You think about the bookseller for a long time that evening. You never tell him what his intelligence produced. It's better if he doesn't know. Knowing creates attachment to outcome. Attachment to outcome changes behavior. Changed behavior creates patterns. Patterns get people killed. You protect him by keeping him in the dark about his own significance. This is what architecture feels like from the inside. Level 7, the ghost. You have been Henri Marchand for 2 years and 4 months. There are moments now where you have to make a small, deliberate effort to remember your real name. Not because you've forgotten it. It's available intact, filed correctly, but because it no longer has the weight it had. It belongs to someone who worked at a shipping company in Bristol, who had a flat with a view of the harbor, who read the newspaper with his coffee on Sunday mornings and thought that was a life. That person is technically still you. You're not sure what practically connects you to him anymore. Henri Marchand has more memories now than you gave him. He has a scar, real, from a fall in a safe house stairwell during extraction. He has opinions that have evolved through 2 years of living in occupied France that the original backstory didn't include. He has relationships, professional, careful, bounded, with people who know him only as Henri but know him genuinely within those bounds. Who is the cover, and who is the covered is a question you stopped asking, because the asking doesn't produce a useful answer, and the living doesn't require one. What you become, at level 7, is very good at the thing and very alone inside it. Not loneliness in the ordinary sense. You're surrounded by people. You operate in human networks. You have contacts in couriers and the bookseller and the nurse and the railway worker. But the aloneness of being the only person in any room who is fully aware of the shape of the situation. The aloneness of a life that cannot be described to anyone who isn't inside it. You receive a message from London informing you that a new agent will be passing through your network. 22 years old. First deployment. You are provide orientation. You meet her at the arranged location, a church in Périgueux. The second pew from the back, a missile open to page 43. She is doing the thing new agents do. She is being very calm. The very calm of someone managing enormous fear, which reads, to trained eyes, as a specific kind of tension around the jaw and a precision of movement that is slightly too precise. You recognize it immediately. You were that person 2 years ago. You give her the orientation, the dead drops, the abort protocols, the specific discipline of the threshold. You tell her what the training told you and what the training couldn't tell you, and what she will have to learn the way everyone learns it, through the accumulation of the thing itself. She listens well. Her questions are good. She will be useful. Before she leaves, you tell her one thing the training won't have covered, that the weight doesn't go anywhere, that the filing system helps but doesn't resolve, that the person she is before this and the person she will be after will both be real and will not be identical, and that this is a cost, and it is worth paying, but it is a cost. She nods. She doesn't fully understand yet. She will. Level 8, what remains? The war ends in the spring, not with a single moment, but with a series of them, news arriving in fragments, each fragment requiring verification before belief. The verification process itself, a kind of professional habit that takes weeks to unlearn. Germany surrenders. The occupation ends. The men who ran the checkpoints and the interrogation rooms and the dinner parties where you spent 4 hours being someone else are either dead, captured, or dispersed into machinery of aftermath. You are debriefed in London for 6 weeks. The debriefings are thorough and clinical and conducted by people who speak the language of the work and therefore require very little explanation. You give them everything. The network structure, the contacts, the operations, the intelligence produced, the operations aborted, the methods, all of it documented in a form that will go into files that will be classified for decades. When it's finished, they shake your hand. They tell you what you did mattered. They tell you the commendations will be processed through the appropriate channels. They give you a name, your real name, on the documentation, which feels strange in a way that takes a moment to locate. The name is accurate. It feels approximate. You are given a sum of money and an address of a support office, and the name of a man to contact if the transition proves difficult. And then you are outside on a London street in May 1945, in a city of people celebrating an ending, and you are wearing your real name like a coat that no longer fits quite right, and Henri Marchand is somewhere close enough to reach without effort, because 2.5 years is long enough for something to become structural. You find a cafe. You order coffee. You sit with it for a long time. The things in the filing system don't suddenly become accessible. They don't surface in a wave of release or grief or revelation. They remain filed where you put them, where they were put for good reasons that are no longer operationally necessary, but are not yet, perhaps will not soon be, emotionally accessible. The instinct to seal them off is still faster than the instinct to open them. The training ran deeper than the peace. You think about Jacques. You found out eventually that he survived. Transferred to a camp in the East, liberated in April. You don't know where he is now. You don't know if the laugh is the same. You think about the bookseller, who never knew what his intelligence produced, and the nurse, and the railway worker, and the 22-year-old in the church in Périgueux who nodded and didn't yet understand. You think about the man at the Valence checkpoint, and the Gestapo officer over lamb and wine, and the 11 days above the tannery in Limoges, and the abort thresholds, and the microfilm in the button, and 100 small, precise things that constituted 2.5 years of life that cannot be described to most people who weren't inside it. You sit with the coffee until it goes cold. You don't notice it going cold. Old habit. Somewhere in a training house in Scotland, a new group of 11 has arrived. Different war coming, different enemy, different century of the same ancient work. One of them is sitting in a room answering questions about their memory, their adaptability, how they perform under social pressure. They've just said yes to something they don't fully understand yet. They think they're ready. They're not. But the work doesn't wait for ready. It never has.